Okay, so for this video, I wanted to briefly cover some of the tax refund processing timelines that we're going to see for this year. So they are very similar to the prior years, right? The IRS has consistently said that it takes between 2 to 3 weeks to get your refund check processed as soon as it's electronically filed and accepted by the IRS, right? So again, always try to avoid paper filing your return. Make sure you electronically file. It makes everything much faster and much more simpler for you as a taxpayer and for the IRS. So you file your return, it's accepted. Generally wait between 2 to 3 weeks. Some refunds come through earlier. So what we want to talk about today is what if you're waiting more than 3 weeks? What are some of the issues, right? So returns can be put on hold for a variety of reasons. The number one reason I see year after year is this additional child tax credit or the earned income tax credit. So if you file a return and you are claiming either the earned income tax credit or the additional child tax credit, which is part of the child tax credit, it's just the refundable portion. So in other words, if you file a return and your tax liability is reduced to zero and your child tax credit amount pushes you over the zero portion and you got a refundable piece, that could delay your return, right? So under law, the IRS is not permitted to release a return and a refund if you're claiming either of these two amounts and you file the return basically before mid-Feb. So if you file a return on Jan 23rd when the IRS opens the e-filing databases and you're claiming either the earned income tax credit or you're claiming the child tax credit, but you have a refundable piece, which is the additional child tax credit, you might see some delay in your return. It doesn't mean it won't get processed. It just means it's not going to be processed within these normal timelines, okay? The other big thing I see done incorrectly all the time is just flat out missing a schedule. So if you file a return and there's an income or an expense amount on some line item and you had to include an additional schedule, it could be delayed. One that gets missed all the time is the 8962 form for the premium tax credit. People fail to include this form when they needed to, and that'll create delays for your return. Sometimes they'll process the return and they'll send you a notice afterwards, but a lot of times now the return is either just being flat out rejected if you needed an additional schedule or form, or it'll be processed, but it basically will be put on hold and nothing will move until you get the issue resolved. All right. The other big one is bank information. Please double check. If you're setting up direct deposit, and double check, triple check the bank details, right? You want your name to match the account. You want the correct bank name. You want the correct routing number and the correct account number. If you get those wrong, and you have a deposit coming through, it could get returned. And so if it's returned, the return will still be processed, but you won't get a direct deposit of your refund check. You'll get just a paper check mailed in the post, right? So they'll mail you a check, so tack on an additional week or two, right? So these are just some general guidelines for dates. Right, this is a 2 to 3 week turnaround, right? So if you were able to file, let's say by Jan 30th, you filed it, you got an acceptance notice by Jan 30th, you can expect your direct deposit of your refund sometime between Feb 10 and Feb 17. Again, assuming there's no issues with the return and assuming you didn't claim either of these two items, right? So you don't have a refundable child tax credit portion and you don't have the earned income tax credit. If you do, you might expect to have a little more time added on to when you can get your refund check. Okay, so that covers it for this video. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions about these timelines, please leave me a comment below. Happy to answer any questions I can. And I look forward to seeing you again on the next video. Thank you.